Welcome to this ROV Insight. And today, Stephen and I are going to discuss how nature moves us effortlessly into meditation. So, one of the things that Stephen and I find as we talk to people about meditation is that, and before they take our course, is that they have an idea that meditation can be really hard, that it's difficult to do, that they just can't quiet the mind, or that meditation is supposed to be about trying to clear your mind. So today we want to talk about how nature, being in the elements, supports effortlessly shifting our state of consciousness into meditative awareness. And I've told the story many times about my first experience of non-dual awareness or unity consciousness back in 1984 when I took a backpacking trip out west to Canyonlands and Grand Canyon and Moab and Utah and Colorado. And the thing that really struck me as I both backpacked and then just sat in nature was, first of all, the sky out west. And I've later moved here probably for the sky. The sky out here is just so vast and open. And as I just sat there and gazed at the sky, it just opened my mind. Just my mind became completely absorbed in the sky. And especially as I focused on the open, clear blue sky, it just took my mind into a expanded, vast, spacious awareness. And as I also sat there, sat on rocks, very solid, with my feet on the ground, my bare feet on the earth, I started to feel a deep stillness just from having my feet on the earth. And as I breathed that fresh air, that air that it's out in nature, that is not polluted and not conditioned, not heated, not air conditioned. It's alive. It has energy in it. And even on that trip, I learned that if I just kind of slightly closed my eyes and gazed at the blue sky, I could see the sparkles of energy in the air. And then as I breathed that in, it too just transformed my state of consciousness, and it gave me a feeling of being very alive and connected to everything around me. And so while I had never meditated before and I wasn't sitting to meditate, nature itself just moved me into meditation, moved me into this open, connected unity consciousness. And so, yeah, today we want to talk a little more about that, about how the elements themselves and immersing ourselves in the elements shifts our state of consciousness. And it makes sense because our bodies evolved living in close contact with nature, living in nature, living as part of nature. We evolved with our bare feet on the earth and sleeping on the ground and immersed in the elements. And so it's natural that our bodies attune to the elements. And when we're in the elements, it brings us into a state of integrity and harmony and peace and relaxation. So I know, Stephen, you have some experiences you want to share about being in caves and the ocean.
Kevin, thank you. Yes, when we were thinking of discussing this, I was contemplating that sky of being and this ocean of being and the ground of being, and I thought in a kind of way we could think of them like awakened awareness, where the sky is free of the body and the mind, and then the awakened heart, which is like this awakened ocean of presence, and then the awakened ground of being, which is like the caves, the deep in the earth. And a lot of my experience, like you, has been connected to sky gazing. So I know that as Kevin mentioned, I mean, this is a really direct way of connecting with awake awareness that's free of body and mind by literally sitting in under the vast open blue sky. and some of my other experiences that helped unfold this. You know, when you think about it and you're connected to that open sky of awareness, to come into the heart, you actually have to do a physical drop. You kind of physically drop down and into this open-hearted awareness, and you perceive things perhaps a little bit differently in terms of, there's more of a felt sense of this openness, this open-hearted presence that you connect perhaps more to nature, to trees, to animals, to people. So there's a different sense. Kevin and I have even noticed that when we work with different states, that such as the awake awareness of the sky or the awake awareness of the heart or the ocean, there's a different, it seems to be a different felt sense or signature to the way that the body and the energy and the brain and the heart express themselves when you tune into this heart-centered awareness. So definitely when I'm out in nature, I meditate a lot at our local Zen temple, and there's an island there with a lake. And so when I'm on that island in that lake environment, you can feel the water. There's kind of a whole different element to that, very, very watery, very oceanic. And it helps you to connect in with almost like waves of experience. There is a whole different felt sense about it. When I'm meditating and opening to the sky, there's a vast, open, boundless sense. And when you're meditating on the ocean or in the ocean, which I've done quite a lot, just floating in the ocean, just sitting there, or meditating underwater, which is really a wonderful experience, just dropping to the bottom of the ocean or dropping to the bottom of a pool and just sitting there a while in the silence and stillness, like you would scuba diving, but without any equipment. You get this fear, you're really nurtured. So there's definitely that heart center. You're nurtured. There is a feeling, a felt sense of presence that expands out, and you can feel it in all directions. So it really is boundless, and it's different than sitting under the vast open sky, which has that kind of free of body and mind. And in the awake awareness of the sky, you really notice that freedom from body and mind. In the ocean, you sense the body is more a felt sensation bubbling in that vast expansive presence. And so then when you drop further right down to the ground of being, into the cave. So I meditate a lot, and in fact, all my life I've meditated in caves in every. I used to love doing this, just seeking out caves. I lived in a beach resort in New Zealand where it was surrounded by caves, and so my friends knew they could often find me in one of these 20 caves. They were quite big. Other people, I wasn't the only person who frequented them, but I might have frequented them a bit more often than most people. And they, you could literally take your blanket or stool or whatever it was you meditate and sit there, and it's really, again, this ground of being, that it is very grounded. You feel really in touch with like the womb of the earth. There's a very mother awareness connection, as if it's strongly connected to birth and nature and grounding in that sense. So it's a whole different felt sense from this open sky of awake awareness to the open-hearted felt sense of presence and awareness. Down here in the ground of being, it feels very uncreated, like as if the womb itself, when you're in a cave. So I meditated in some holy, Buddhist, very sacred Buddhist caves in Thailand, and the same in Nepal, same in India, Tibet. A lot of places I've been, I've meditated in these holy caves, and there's a sense when you're in there, you really understand what those meditators and yogis and lamas must have felt, because there's literally nothing. There is a nothingness. There is an absolute emptiness, as compared to the sky, which is open and vast, and the heart, which is kind of boundless felt sense of presence. The cave dwelling feels like you are literally unbound in the ground. There's a kind of an uncreated or unborn sense to the womb feeling. So because it's just nothing, it's complete silence. It's absolute, when you go out to the sky, of course, there's a certain aspect to the elements that you're going to be, because it's air and you're kind of connected to maybe breezes, or there's a felt sense of the sun, or so on. But in the caves, you are just silent. It is so silent and so still. So you really tune in more to that silence and stillness of the uncreated ground of being. It really is pretty amazing. So you get the feeling of these meditators who meditate there over their lifetime, sometimes even passed on there, and that tremendous felt, it's a different felt sense where it feels so unbound, that and so uncreated and so unborn, that you tap into the thought less, identity less, formless nature of the ground of being, in a different way than you would say in the ocean, or the heart interconnectedness, or the sky. So I thought that was a really just interesting insight as I felt into this, and certainly my experience in caves has felt very different than meditating in the heart, open-hearted awareness practice, or the open sky awake awareness practice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. So how the different elements bring out different aspects of meditative awareness and different aspects of this unity consciousness. And both of us have been talking to Felix Blaine, one of our who's taken one of our meditation courses and is a psychologist and doing research about nature and meditation and meditating in nature and the effect of it. And one of the things that he really brings to our attention is that we're so used to doing everything inside a building, and that how that really forms and informs our state of consciousness, and how being out in nature and outside of our rectangular spaces just immediately imparts a different state of consciousness to us. And so we really want to encourage everyone through this video to take some time out in nature, in just sitting still and silent. You don't even need to have a meditative technique. It's just sitting there, being present with your feet on the ground, and or feet in water, and gazing at the sky and breathing in the air and feeling the sunshine, and just having that present moment awareness of the sensations of nature, and just notice what you feel, and notice how your state of consciousness effortlessly shifts, and you'll feel through that also a tremendous sense of connection with all of life, with the natural world. It just happens. And what a different relationship we would have with our planet, and with how we treat our planet and all forms of life, if we took time every day to be outside and connect with the natural world and see how we are expressions of life, not separate from life.